Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. Bit of a bumper one this week. It's, a lot of content. We've got the transfer window closing, which featured a lot of business. So I think that added to the time, but certainly a bumper edition. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Big one there is share the podcast around. If you've got a football fan in your life, send them this podcast. They might even thank you for it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the football podcast.
Recording in progress.
Yes, indeed. The recording is in progress. Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen. It's another episode of the CookieCast Podcast Network's football special. Obviously, I come to you with the three smiling faces you see in front of you if you're watching on the YouTube. Myself, Mr. Cook, Mr. Woodmansey, Mr. Moore. How are we this week, gents?
Well, still alright.
So we come to you off the back of the slamming shut of the transfer window. And all that means is that we have to do a roundup of the business that was done on the last couple of days between our last recording and today's recording. I'll start, as it turns out my club don't like to sign players, so they just think it's a good idea to sell loads of them off. So that was nice. So they started with the biggest deal of their particular transfer deadline day. They shipped out Morgan Rogers. I know you're all thinking, but hang on a second, hasn't he just joined the club? You would be correct in thinking that. He had just joined the club from Manchester City in the summer for a reported £1 million. He has since joined Aston Villa in what was described as an undisclosed fee, but a lot of websites are seeming to indicate that it's £8 million up front, with the potential that it could rise to as much as £16 million with add-ons. So, paid £1 million for him in the summer, and they've managed to potentially get 16 times that figure back. Apparently, Man City do have a sell-on clause, however, so they get 25% of any profit made on the transfer. So if someone was like saying, well, it's just $2 million then, isn't it? And it's like, no, because that's not, like, $8 million wasn't the profit, $7 million was the profit, then you have to work out 25% of that, and I'm not that good at maths. It's about 1.75 million-ish, I think.
And I presume it keeps on going up with, does it keep on going up with add-ons as well?
I imagine so. I imagine it's a case of whatever his final fee is, the final fee that's commanded if he makes all these add-ons, they'd have to pay percentages of that to Man City as part of the agreement when they sign it. So we'll see.
I always like things like that, because is that like I know we won't crack on, but like, do they have to pay it in, like, all right, we got 25% this time, so here's this bit? Or do they wait till everything's kind of come through and whether all the add-ons have gone through and they go, here it is at the end? Or is it like, like kind of when you owe someone some money, you go, I've got 20 quid, there's like 20 quid of that 100 that I owe you kind of thing. And then you go, shit, there's a fiver that I found. I just found that down the back of the sofa.
The funniest thing for me with the sell-on clause is these clubs that you wear that, like, so the biggest example that I can think of was Theo Walcott when Southampton sold him to Arsenal. And obviously they sold him for the upfront fee, but then they had loads of add-ons put into it, and that if he got sold on or if he made England appearances, etc., they'd get more money. And then obviously Southampton went into the absolute shit, financial-wise. So basically Arsenal agreed to buy out these clauses for, like, reduced fees or higher fees, whichever way you want to look at it. And obviously then they kind of got money up front, but then sacrificed probably more money further down the line and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see what the clauses are that have been inserted into the deal. But Morgan Rogers goes to Aston Villa on a permanent basis. A guy from the young lad from the academy, Brian Bilongo, not a name we've heard on the podcast before. He is a young left back who was only in the youth setup, has joined Ebbsfleet on a loan deal until the end of the season, just to get some game time. I think he's quite highly regarded in the under 23s. And then a one that came a bit out of left field, striker Callum Kavanagh, who had made his first team debut earlier this season, had a couple of games in the Carabao Cup and came on in a league game, I believe. I think there was talks of him going out on loan, and he's gone to Bradford City on a permanent. So, no idea what that one came out a bit out of left field. Everyone thought he was just going to be going on a loan deal, but he has signed a permanent basis with Bradford City. So it was all the more strange in the fact that obviously at the moment Borough are very short in the striking areas. So it seemed a bit of a backwards move, letting go what was potentially a good prospect on a permanent basis. I imagine there's a buyback clause that's been inserted into the deal, but we'll have to wait and see. There is talk as well, even though the transfer window is now closed, it does remain open in other parts of the world, and apparently today they've agreed to let Matt Crooks go to the States to discuss a move with a team in America. So there is a possibility that by the time we record next week, Matt Crooks could also be added to that list. Which one of you boys wants to take the next bullet, as you've both got a fair bit of stuff to go through? Probably Stu more so than Matt, but I'll leave it up to you boys as to which one of you wants to go next.
Do you want to go, Matt? Yeah, I'll go through. So, Forest have done what you might call a reverse Forest. This Christmas transfer window, shall we say? I mean, we've not quite discussed it yet. We'll perhaps maybe discuss it either now or at the end of the podcast. We've been threatening to talk about it for 2 or 3 weeks. Obviously, with Forest's financial fair play situation, or PSR, or God knows what it's going to be called next, when they manage to fix it so that the top clubs manage to stay way ahead of the bottom clubs. Forest kind of made a conscious decision not to go nuts. And then just couldn't quite resist it right near the end. So kind of good signings, I think. So Gio Reyna, they signed, I think, what's his dad? I can't remember. You know when his dad's name kept on dropping in and out of my head?
Claudio.
Yeah, played at Sunderland as well, didn't he? So he came on loan. Initially, they thought it was a loan with a view to buy, but apparently it's, as they call on Sky Sports, a straight loan. Not a curvy loan, not around the houses loan, just a straight loan, a Roman road of a loan. All right. We also then signed Rodrigo Ribeiro, which genuinely sounds like a fast show character, dating ourselves, from Real Betis, like him now. And loan with a view to a permanent deal. Apparently, he's 18 years old, so I think is a kind of maybe a Nuno special, somebody he knows or has heard of or seen, with potential. And then this was the only one really of transfer deadline day. I think Ribeiro was confirmed on transfer deadline day, but was pretty much done and dusted beforehand. After trying to buy possibly every goalkeeper in Europe, Africa, Asia, the United States, keepers off unfound planets outside of our solar system. We settled on Matt Sells from Salzburg for $5 million, which took the total briefly up to 6 goalkeepers in the building, which I kind of referred to as maybe they're trying to build a super goalkeeper like the Power Rangers. But to kind of balance the books, there's been a load of outgoings. Now, I know I've talked about some of these already, but here are the outgoings. Early on in the transfer window, Andre Santos, and Gustavo Scarpa were sold/sent back to their club. I think last week I spoke about Emmanuel Dennis being loaned to somewhere, back to Watford, and Scott McKenna being loaned to FC Copenhagen. Since then, we've had Jonathan Panzo has gone to Standard Liège, I think. Alex Mighton has gone to Port Vale. Brandon Aguilera, who had a nice little kind of cameo in the FA Cup the other week against Blackpool, and I think came on for Forest in the league at some point. What was it? Came on in the league when they lost to Arsenal. He has gone to Bristol Rovers and scored an absolute worldie this weekend.
I was going to say, he's got an absolute pinger.
We've had, as I said, Ethan Horvath has gone to Cardiff on a permanent deal. Shame for him, because I think he was in goal for Luton last year as they got promoted and Luton binned him off. And then post hour, and then on transfer deadline day, Oriol Mangala, who's played really well in centre mid, went to Lyon, but for, again, up to 30 million. It's a loan with very easy to achieve things that turn it into a permanent deal. I think it's a bit like the Chris Wood play 3 games kind of thing. But he's gone to Lyon for up to 30 million, which turns into a 200% profit. We paid 10 million, we're getting possibly 30. So that's a good chunk to the FFP, as it were. And then post English deadline, we've had 3 players go to Turkey. Wang Hui-jo, who has barely set foot in Nottingham, he's gone to somewhere in Turkey. Serge Aurier has gone to Trabzon, I think. On a permanent. I think the writing was on the wall for him when Nuno took over, because he wasn't a fan of him at Tottenham, and he hasn't played much at Forest. And then the last one, which kind of tugs on the heartstrings a little bit, is Joe Worrell going to Besiktas on loan for the rest of the season. I don't think it's with a view to a permanent move, but I suspect we've seen him in a Forest shirt for the last time, which is a shame. But either someone near the top of the Championship next year will pick up a very good player, or somebody getting promoted next year will probably pick up a very good player. Yes, I mean, if either of your 2 sides are either on the way up or still there but looking to push on, Joe Worrell, I think it kind of tugs on that kind of like, he's a Nottingham lad, he's played for the team for so long, he was the club captain. It all turned a bit sour when everything was going sour at the club. It's kind of the nasty side of Cooper's legacy, I think, is that kind of thing of, if you crossed him, you were out in the cold, and nobody really knew why, and no one would discuss it, but it was glaringly obvious that he was pissed off with you. Joe Worrell on his way out, which is a shame.
There you have it. Nottingham Forest business wrapped up. That just leaves us with the, dare I suggest, supermarket sweep-esque transactions that were going on at the MKM Stadium this transfer window.
Some people online have said it's potentially been one of the best transfer windows for a Championship club ever. I would suggest that.
I think it could definitely be agreed.
I would suggest that now is not the time to judge that, and we'll talk about that maybe in 3 months' time from now. Because if they're all injured and absolutely knacked in 2 weeks, then no, it's not. So the list here follows. We've got lots of ins and outs, so we'll start with a few outs. Harry Vaughan has gone on loan to Bristol Rovers for the rest of the season. I noticed during Matt's readings there as well, we've had a few players either from or to the same team. So some of former players are going to be mixing it up for the rest of this season, or possibly have created a space whereby, well, one of them's created a space that the other team has filled, sort of thing. So we've had an in and an out, in the sense of Oscar Estepinian has been recalled from his loan at Metz to be loaned out again, but that's not happened. But he's not back in Hull, so God knows what's happening with that one. Yeah, tell me about it. Bizarre. Do you remember that about a year ago now, we talked about a young man called Uriel Celli? No, not ringing any bells. No, this was the kid that we bought and from Universitario de Deportes a year ago, with a view to bringing him in at some point. Well, he's had that loan extended for another year, so a player that we bought a year ago still hasn't even been to Hull, but officially that was re-signed. Dogakan Sinik has been loaned out to Hatayspor for the rest of the season, and when I say loaned out, again, not been in Hull for quite some time as far as I'm aware, so was probably already there or thereabouts. Timothy Lottatala has been loaned out to Doncaster for the rest of the season, so they've got a keeper. When Harry Vaughan went, I felt sorry for one of my boys, because he picked Oscar Estepinian as his favourite player last year, and then he left. And then this year, he picked Delap, and then Delap's got badly injured. So he was like, oh, well, okay, Harry Vaughan's my new favourite now, and now he's gone. So we had a little chat, and his favourite player from now until the end of the season is going to be Matt Ingram. For no reason. So Donny have got a decent keeper there. I feel sorry for the lad, because I always thought he was pretty good from when we'd seen little bits of him, but much like Forest, with 4 keepers in the building, one of them was probably going to go, and it's been him. Ryan Woods came back and then was loaned out to Exeter City on loan for the rest of the season. Fleming has come back from his loan at Shrewsbury, which was bizarre because that was confirmed after the transfer window shut. So I don't really know what happened with that one, whether actually he's going to be a fringe player or whether just something went a bit weird and they didn't get him back in time to get any paperwork through, but I guess we'll find out. So in terms of actual ins that happened between the last podcast and this one, we had, now again, going to butcher this, Abdul Kadir Omo from Trabzonspor has been signed on a permanent deal of 3.5 years for an undisclosed fee. He's a creative midfielder, Turkish international. So for those of you keeping score, check that one off your bingo card. And we've had, on the last deal of the transfer window for us was on deadline day, and we've had Anas Zarouri from Burnley on loan for the rest of the season. It was quite late on in the day. I'd already gone to bed. But he's a winger, and he arrived, I think, on the Thursday, which was the transfer deadline day, and he started and played on Saturday and looked pretty good. But I guess we'll get to that shortly. So yeah, a lot of names, a lot of movement, and a good old reshuffle. They've definitely cut some of the deadwood. I'm hoping players like Harry Vaughan will come back from their loan. But we'll see. I think he's got a bit of work to do to prove himself, and he'll definitely make a dent in the lower divisions if he can get some game time. But in terms of the players coming in, so many have come in over the course of January. It feels like, to quote me, Matt's team have done a reverse Forest. We've actually just seen that and gone, oh, this is how we do it, is it? And sort of carbon copy of sort of pinged as many through the door as we can, seemingly. But it's a statement of intent for sure. I would say they haven't signed anybody that I would class as completely terrible. Although granted, I don't know a lot about Omer from Trabzonspor. Other than that, he already needs a haircut. Other than that, we'll find out. The rest of it seems to be pretty good business from what I can see. So, fingers crossed for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it almost looks as if they've taken that sort of strike whilst the iron is hot sort of approach. They're within touching distance of the playoffs. I mean, you could say that about 8 teams in the championship because it's so congested. But obviously, you're looking at about, as it stands, 10 teams playing for what looks like it's going to be 2 spots.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but there was quite a lot of outs, obviously, this week. And again, there was stuff doing the rounds about how they were having to be careful because of the financial fair play, even in the championship, which I can, the amount that's happened, I can see why they've had to be careful. And like some of the values that, even for the loan fees that they've been paying for, like people like, you know, Tyler Morton earlier in the season, for the remainder of the season as well, and then Carvalho from Liverpool. I can't imagine that those loan fees are small. And the value of it's all right saying undisclosed, but somebody somewhere's got to know in terms of balancing the books, haven't they? So
yeah, that is the thing. So there you go. That is your transfer roundup done for the January 2024 transfer window. That just leaves us to go through week 27's fixtures and then predict week 28's games. We're going to take a small, short break just to compose ourselves, and then we'll dive straight back in with week 27's first fixture, which was Hull City versus Millwall. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Recording in progress.
Welcome back on in. So yes, as we said before the break, our first game of week 27's fixtures was indeed Hull City taking on Millwall, and this was a Saturday fixture nonetheless. How did it feel to be back at the MKM on a Saturday at 3 p.m?
It was almost like football was a real thing again. I don't know. But no, it was good. We met up with some friends and stuff before the game, had a little toddle down. It was like old times. As I mentioned, we had Zaroury starting, having only signed for the club a few days earlier, and Ryan Giles also starts. It was bizarre. I don't know what was more bizarre, having a 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff or actually having a left back on the pitch. It was, yeah, touch and go. But yeah, the game started amazingly. Hull were absolutely dominant for the first half. However, they only managed to score 1 goal in all of that time, which was Jaden Philogene on 5 minutes. New boy Zaroury picked the ball up on the right-hand edge of the box and absolutely rifled it at towards the goal, which the keeper saved. Only to be sort of like palmed back out into the path of Philogene, who neat touch to control it and then absolutely slapped it into the bottom right-hand corner of the goal. MKM went absolutely nuts. It was looking grand, could have been a cricket score, but like I say, petered out to only being 1-0 at half-time. Lots of possession, but just nothing really done with it. There wasn't really any testing of the keeper other than that sort of parry and goal. It was, yeah, we were definitely drilling the new boys in how we like to play keep ball these days, put it that way. Second half started very much the same, but unfortunately after about 10 minutes or so, Millwall decided that they were going to turn up. But it wasn't terrible, because they decided to also not score as well. So the entire game, Hull had over 60% possession and only 2 shots on target. Millwall, for their trouble, only had 1 shot on target, but say the one that counted was the one after 5 minutes. Philogene scores the winner early doors. Hull 3 points on the board, back up into the playoff positions. So happy Saturday.
All around, happy stuff. From the podcast predictions, for the first time in known existence, the least optimistic person on the podcast was Mr. Andrew Cook, who had gone for a 1-1 draw. Sharp and Honeyman to each get a goal. No points for Mr. Cook.
Honeyman did get on the pitch, though, Andy, you'll be pleased to know. He got subbed on in the second half.
We'll give him a little sort of note in the book that he got that right, I suppose. Yeah? No? Okay. Me and Matt had both gone for... Me and Matt had both gone for 2-1 Hull wins. Sadly, neither of us had picked Philogene as the goal scorer. But Mr. Woodmansey, I think he'd seen this one in his crystal ball, as he had predicted 1-0 Hull. Philogene to score. So not only does he get 2 points for the correct score, not only does he get the bonus point for the correct goal scorer, he gets the other bonus point for being spot on the money. So 4 points for that one game, just for Mr. Woodmansey. Well played to you, sir. Our second game of the week was my boys, Middlesbrough, taking on Sunderland. This one was live on Sky Sports Television. To say it was a North-East derby, although Sunderland don't treat it as a North-East derby, so don't ever say it's a North-East derby, but as soon as they lose it, they get pretty pissed off about it being a North-East derby. To say that it was a derby, it didn't really have that much needle to it. Fans were a little bit in and out. The play was not great. A lot of loose passes. Hayden Hackney probably the worst for that. An awful lot of stray balls being sort of played around and not finding a target. The first half petered out to a bit of a drab 0-0. Both sides had chances but were unable to capitalise. Sunderland probably had the best chance where they had one cleared off the line. Middlesbrough could have taken the lead when Finn Azaz had an open goal to aim at, but kind of snatched at his effort and just blazed it way over the bar. So we got into 0-0. We got into half time at 0-0. This time Sunderland decided to keep all 11 players on the field as opposed to the game earlier in the season where they thought it'd be a really good idea to have someone sent off on the stroke of half time. Second half started in much a similar sort of vein where neither side could really get on top until, just double check the minute of the first goal, as it was Middlesbrough who took the lead. They took the lead on the 61st minute when they got a free kick just outside the box. And instead of whipping it into the box as you would normally, they worked a training ground routine where the ball was played to the edge of the box with a couple of different passes. Sam Greenwood latched onto it and had an absolutely horrendous shot that was going nowhere near. Cannoned into the path of Marcus Force, who controlled it and finished first time past the goalkeeper. Lovely finish, but a terrible effort from Sam Greenwood. One of those ones where you're really disgusted that player gets the assist for the terrible chance that they'd taken to score. From there, Borough should have done what they've done in other games this season. They should have done what they've failed to do in other games this season. And the one game that came to mind, unfortunately for me, was the Middlesbrough 1 Hull 2 game. As Middlesbrough were in absolutely no danger in that game, conceded a stupid equaliser, and then went on to lose the game 2-1. Thankfully, this wasn't a carbon copy of that. However, they did concede an incredibly sloppy equaliser that just came out of nowhere. The ball had been pulled long, made its way up to, and I've got to double check this guy's name, Nazari Rusin, who'd come on in the second half as a substitute for Sunderland, who just had a bit of a pop from the edge of the box. Speculative effort, bounced in front of the goalkeeper, and he obviously forgot where his hands were, as he was unable to keep it out of the net. Just one of those ones where you just watch it back, and it doesn't get better with time. It's just a standard. It's just like all he had to do was follow the flight of the ball, palm it away to safety, or take it into his chest, and he decides to do it. Goes in at his near post. He's there looking like he's got egg on his face. Sunderland were let back into the game they had absolutely no business getting back into. And from there, that was in the 83rd minute, and neither team could capitalise and go for the winner. So being out to a 1-1 draw. I've been optimistic in the run up to this, and I've gone for a 2-0 win. Greenwood and Azaz to score. So when Azaz missed that open goal, I was really happy. Andy had gone for a 2-1 with Greenwood and Semedo to score. Sorry, Greenwood for Borough, Sunderland, Semedo, but also had fours to score for the Borough, so this is a bonus point for the goal scorer. Now, whilst they did pick the correct goal scorers, Mr. Woodmansey and Mr. Moore both did pick a 1-1 draw, so getting themselves 2 points for the result. Our next game takes us over to Bournemouth, where Bournemouth took on Nottingham Forest. Now, the first thing I obviously has to ask before you give us the details of the game, was the stadium okay, Matt? It's what's on everyone's lips.
Well, it's been very windy over the past few weeks, but miraculously, considering Forest have lots of players at AFCON and quite a few players out, the stadium held up against the 40 to 45 to 50 mile an hour winds that were bashing us at things. So yeah, the game went ahead, and apparently Forest didn't switch on because within 5 minutes, Justin Kluivert, yes, that Kluivert, that family. I mean, he's absolutely done his teammate, to be honest. But his teammate's on loan from Leeds, so screw him. Because it was a flick on at the corner in, flick on at the front, at the front post, and yeah, it was pretty much in the goal, but he made sure of it, so tapped it in just like his dad. So 1-0 to Bournemouth. Not the new goalkeeper's fault. There's not very much he could have done about it. But kind of Forest kind of toiled away. Apparently, well, looking at the stats, had over 50, generally 55% of the possession through the match. And just before half time, Callum Hudson-Odoi scored. It feels like a carbon copy of the goal he scored against Bournemouth earlier in the season. Gets the ball on the left, cuts in, kills it around the keeper. Nice finish. From there, I think Forest had a few chances. Bournemouth had a few chances, but it was kind of petering out into a draw until always had a bit of a dislike for Billy. Even whenever I've seen him in the low, playing in the Championship, and my God, the rake of the boots down the back of Callum Hudson-Odoi's Hudson-Odoi's Achilles was quite shocking, and he got a red card, which was fully deserved. But apparently, that something just happens in football.
Yeah,
it just happens in football. It doesn't happen with intent like he went with. That was nasty.
It's the challenge that other than a straight leg breaker, where they've sort of got you right in between the knee and the sort of the foot, where they've gone to break the leg. It's the challenge that I hate the most, because if they nick that tendon, you're done for 12 months.
Yeah, 12, 18 months. It's a long-term injury, that one, and we know. I mean, Callum Hudson-Odoi is made of glass anyway.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it was. I hadn't seen it until earlier tonight, and I was like, "Ooh, that is it's a nasty bastard challenge." It's it doesn't need to be done. It didn't need to be done. You know, if you want to stop the attack because Forest run the attack, just kick his legs from underneath him. Do it do a man's challenge, not a wimp's challenge. That's just like a soft shite kind of thing. That one. It's a bit of a bitch move would be my kind of thing. It's but unfortunately Forest couldn't take advantage of them being down to 10 men. I mean, 84 minutes is kind of getting towards the end of the game, and I think it's always just kind of, you can go out and win it from here, and you're like, yeah, but the players are probably knackered, and petered out into a 1-1 draw. A decent result, I think, because I was worried that we might go there and get absolutely stomped on. Particularly when I saw that Dominic Solanke scores against Forest all the time, apparently.
Yeah, I suppose a point away from home's always has to be looked at as a good point, to be honest with you. Matt had gone for a 2-2 draw in this one. Solanke and Billing to score for Bournemouth, so he didn't get a goal. He did get himself sent off though. Gibbs, White and Awonyi, so sadly Matt had picked the wrong double-barrelled surname fella. Myself, Stuart and Andy had all gone 1-1 draws. So we bagged ourselves 2 points as opposed to Matt's 1 point for the draw. Excuse me. Me and Andy had both gone for Solanke to score. And then I also had gone for the wrong double-barrelled surname. I'd gone for Gibbs White as well. And Andy had Wood. Stu, on the other hand, had gone with Dominguez as his Nottingham Forest goal scorer, but Clivert as his Bournemouth goal scorer, so back to a bonus point for the goal scorer. Next up, Mr. Andrew Cooks, Chelsea. We're taking on Wolverhampton Wanderers. And I know what you're thinking, Mr. Cook, he's settling in now. He's got his Stamford Bridge, tour booked in. He's got that tattoo sorted. He's got it booked. He's bought his first season ticket for next season, knowing that they're going to go unbeaten between now and then. He's got his Chelsea shirt with Cook on the back. You have to put all that on the internet, lads. As Chelsea lost 2-4. Who saw Wolves scoring 4 at Chelsea? Certainly not this guy. Cole Palmer and Thiago Silva with the goals for Chelsea, but a Matthias Cunha hat-trick and an own goal from Axel Disasi meant that Wolves ran out 4-2 winners. And by the sounds of it, I didn't catch it. This wasn't the game that was live on Sky Saturday. So I haven't had a chance to see match of the day 2, so I haven't seen any of the highlights. But it sounds like Chelsea weren't unlucky in this one. They were just soundly beaten in this one. Doesn't sound like they were ever in the game, really. And just heaps a bit more pressure back on Mr. Pochettino, whereas he was already under a little bit of pressure. But we'll see what happens moving forward. You'll be surprised to hear that all of us had gone for Chelsea wins. I'd gone 1-0 with Mudryk. That was a mistake. Covering that up. Stuart gone for 2-0 with Fernandez and Palmer to score, so does get himself a bonus point for a goal scorer. Matt had gone 3-1 with Fernandez, Sterling and Palmer, and had also picked Cunha to score for Wolves, so gets himself 2 bonus points for the goal scorers. Andy had gone 2-0 with Sterling and Palmer to get a goal, so gets himself a bonus point. 2 games left, and the first of which, both of these were FA Cup 4th round replays, and we start with Nottingham Forest taking on Bristol City. On paper, probably sounded like it was a fairly straightforward Forest win, and about 10 or so minutes it looked that way.
Oh?
Did the first goal go in within the first 10 minutes?
5 minutes, I think they scored. Right, so Divock Origi. So he got his first goal for the club. Debatable. It looks like handball. I've not seen any good angles on it, but I think I read on, because obviously it was nowhere to be seen anywhere. So last night I settled down to try and watch it, and nope, not even like on a red button or something like that. Not a chance. And on the BBC text thing, it said right-footed shot from in the box. It looked like right-handed shot right next to the line. So yeah, 1-0, and you thought, all right, brilliant. It's either go 1-0 up, brilliant. This is going to be nice, easy work, kind of thing. No. A few minutes later, Bristol City equalised. Good shot from outside of the box from one of their players. Matt Turner, who was back in the net, made a really good save. But the classic old hit the post, rolled along the line, hit the other post, came out, and Jason Knight, I think his name was. I don't know how he finished it, but it ended up looping over the top of Turner, who was recovering, into the back of the net. Then, yeah, no more goals. Looked like Bristol City had Forest under the cosh a little bit, particularly through extra time. Get through extra time, through to penalties. Forest didn't miss a penalty. I missed the Bristol City one, but 5-3 Forest win on penalties. Through to Man United. Forest Man United at the City Ground on the 27th of February, I want to say. That one is on the telly box.
Very nice. Matt Turner saved Sam Bell's penalty to see the host to a 5-3 shootout.
So Sam Bell ended their hopes of getting through.
Sure, trying to get something after you, but I can't put two and two together there, unfortunately. So we'll have to just move on swiftly. We'd all gone for a Forest win. So because the game finished as a draw, I've given none of us points, which I think is fair. Forest have progressed, but it was on penalty, so I'm not giving anyone points there. And sadly, none of us picked Origi or Knight to score, so no points for any of us in that game. The game that was on the TV in lieu of Nottingham Forest versus Bristol City was Aston Villa versus Chelsea. And even though it was on TV, I failed to see anything, as I was indisposed, so I was unable to watch it. Did anyone see any of this game?
A little bit. Chelsea were absolutely on one.
Yeah.
It's seemingly they'd had a rocket after the Wolves game, realised that the FA Cup might be their only chance of doing anything this season, and came out and played like their wives were being held hostage, to be fair. I don't know which one of the goals it was, whether it was the first, second, or indeed third. But it came from a free kick. It was Fernandes that scored the free kick, but in the build-up to it, the ref gave it as a foul, and it was the worst case of air shot you've ever seen. So the kid goes to swing his right foot at it, nicks it off his left toe just as the defenders got a little bit too close to him. Didn't touch the player or the ball, but yeah, the ball sort of bundled off of the toe of his left boot, and as he went to try and smash it with his right foot, kicked through so hard that he almost backflipped himself onto the ground. And the ref gave it as a free kick, much to the disgust of the Villa faithful. But the free kick that followed it, nobody was keeping that out. It was an absolute peak.
Yeah. I mean, Martinez even got a hand to it, didn't he? But it was like, that was not staying out.
As they said on the commentary, I think at the time, actually, by the time he touched it, 3/4 of the ball was already over the line. So it was.
Jackson's finish was nice as well. Nice header.
Yeah, with just going back to the Fernandes free kick, obviously that was international colleagues going up against each other, because obviously they're both Argentinian, him and Emiliano Martinez in the Villa goal. So I imagine he probably had a little wry smile at him as that one was sailing into the net. So it's strange on this one because obviously Villa had that massive, long, unbeaten run at home, and the last two they've been absolutely pummeled. Chelsea and Newcastle turned up and done a bit of a job on them, so 1 each. So 3-1 it finished in the end. Diaby scored for Villa, Gallagher, Jackson, Fernandes for Chelsea. I'd gone for a 2-1 win. Watkins and Diaby to score for Villa, Palmer to score for Chelsea, so I do get myself a bonus point for the goal scorer. Stuart gone for a 1-1 draw, Watkins and Sterling, so no points there. Matt and Andy had both gone for Chelsea wins, so they get themselves a point for the result. Matt had gone McGinn, Sterling and Palmer. Andy had gone 2-0 with Palmer and Chukwuemeka after I'd given him that name, and he didn't even get on the pitch. So sorry about that, Andy. I kind of sold you down the river there, big man. So all that does for the week means that after 6 games, I had a huge 4 points. Well done, me. Big pat on the back. Andy, through 6 games, had 5 points. Matt, through 6 games, had 7 points, but taking the win. No one was ever really going to catch him after his 4 points in the first game. But with 10 huge points for the week, Mr. Stuart Woodmansey, well done, sir. 6 games ahead of us in week 28. And we start with Mr. Cook's new team of Wolverhampton Wanderers. So, this will be your first venture. Oh dear. So someone is not happy that you're supporting Wolves now, and it is not the members of my household, which is strange.
Almost an actual wolf on the podcast, for a second.
Yes, very much so. Will this be your first trip to the Black Country, Mr. Cook?
Is there a different way we can phrase that at all, or
that is the term. That is the term for this particular part of the West Midlands.
He's almost wearing the right colours as well, Andy. You've thought ahead here.
He's almost gone old gold in his shirt, but sadly he has not. So, Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Brentford, Mr. Cook's team. He will go last. As usually tends to be the case, I have my predictions in front of me, so I will give them straight away. I've gone for a 2-2 draw here. Gone for a goal each from Cunha and Hwang, fresh off his exploits in the Asian Cup. Hoping he'll come back with a bang. And then I've gone for Tony, and I've absolutely shafted myself there. I've put my second Brentford scorer down as a Wolves player.
OG.
Do you know what? Bollocks to it. I'm going to roll with it. Sarabia, own goal. I'm going to go for it. It's in the book. I don't want to get all messy. So Tony and Sarabia with an own goal. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Stu, what have you got for Wolves Brentford?
The YouTubers amongst you might have told from my face that I had also picked a 2-2 draw. I've gone for Neto and Cunha to carry on his form, and Tony and Mope.
You appear to have mispronounced shithouse while you're saying Mope. But I'll let you off. Matt?
I've also gone for a draw, but just 1 each, with Cunha and Tony.
Go on, Andy. How do you see your first trip to Wolves settling you up?
Not great, because I've got them to get beat first game. 1-0. And I know what you're thinking. Andy, how could you possibly pick a Brentford goal scorer? Well, let me take you through my process. I opened the internet. I opened the Brentford page and I went, he looks familiar. So, KLP for the goal.
Keen.
It's been a long time coming, but the opportunity to say Keane Lewis Potter could not pass
Fair.
that up.
Back 4 years.
What I was going to say was, you know that part of like sort of like TV shows where someone like goes into a rant and it slowly just fades down them ranting, but you can still see their lips moving, and the voiceover person goes, "This is the part of the show where Andy went into his usual meltdown rant. If you'd like to hear anything else, please tune into so."
It's funny because it's like foreshadowing, isn't it? It's like there's a Preston game to predict. Oh dear.
I couldn't possibly say anything. But before we get to our second game, which sees Hull City taking on Swansea City, we are just going to step away momentarily to reconvene, and we'll come right back at you with the rest of Week 28's predictions. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon.
Recording in progress.
Just like that, we're back at it. So, the next game on the list, Hull City taking on Swansea City. The Battle of the Cities, yes, very much indeed. Obviously, this one will be at the MKM, so he will be in attendance, more than likely. Dare I say, for the first of 2 games this week?
I won't be at the MKM for both of those games, Paul.
No,
Otherwise,
indeed.
I'm very wrong.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that later on. So yes, Hull City versus Swansea City. I've gone 2-1 to Hull. A goal each for Philip-Jean and Zaruri. And then, just because I can, I've got Wood. Andrew?
Just 1-0 to Hull with Sharp, if that's acceptable.
Very nice. Matthew?
I've gone for a 2-1 Hull win with Philogene and Ohio for Hull and Yates for Swansea.
Not the original, but probably still a bit of a shithouse. Stu, how did you see it panning out?
I have also gone for a 2-1 Hull win. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Sit yourselves down. I've predicted Hull to win 2 weeks in a row. But yeah, I've got Carvalho and Shah for Hull. And was looking at the Swansea squad list, who's played recently, and one name stood out on its own. Because it is just one name. And that man's name is Ronald.
So, I almost went for Ronald. Was there any sort of indication as to where he's from?
I mean, I can only assume McDonald's.
Very nice. Obviously, if you're listening, Ronald, reach out to us. Let us know just where you're from. Our next game sees Middlesbrough taking on the sloppiest of seconds from Nottingham Forest in Bristol City. Obviously, it's my team. I will therefore go last. Matt, what have you got down for Middlesbrough versus Bristol City?
I've also gone for a 2-1 win for yourselves.
Ooh, lovely.
Hopefully Bristol City will be a bit knackered from their exploits in the week. Greenwood and Force for your good selves. And Conway for Bristol City.
Stu?
I also think Bristol will probably be a bit knackered from the FA Cup, so I've got you down for a 1-1 draw.
So you lured me in there, as if to sort of say, I'm going to give you some tasty wins here. I think they're going to be a bit knackered, so just the 4-0.
No, I mean, Bristol have had a decent transfer window themselves. Obviously, signing Scott Twine and then him getting injured for the rest of the season has helped their forward line no end. So no, I've got Azaz for Borough and Pring for Bristol.
Pring,
yeah, Pring,
as
not
in,
Prick.
as in Ulls,
Injured for the
without
rest of the
the
season.
Ulls on the end.
Yes. Maybe he might score 2 because once he pops.
Andy.
I have gone with a 2-0 win for the Borough. Fours and Silvera.
I too think that Bristol City may be a little bit tired from their exploits in the FA Cup, having to go that extra half an hour and penalties. So I've gone for a 1-0 Middlesbrough win with fours to get the goal, although apparently keeping a clean sheet seems to be the last thing on Borough's mind at the moment. Our next game is a live 5:30pm kickoff and sees Nottingham Forest taking on Newcastle United. Ooh, it's Mr. Matt Moore's favourite time of the year. Ooh, you can just sense it. We'll come to him last as it is his team. Let's go to Stu for his prediction first on this one.
I've got another draw on the cards. I know it's that age-old thing of it's a team that we don't particularly like against like my mate's team, so therefore you want Forest to win like 5-0, but Newcastle have had this really kitty resurgence over the last few weeks that I'm not very comfortable with. So I have gone for 1-1. I've got Big T to score for Forest and Gordon, because if you're going to pick a team you dislike, pick the most horrible bastard in that team to score.
I think he got taken off injured at the weekend, and I don't think it was one that looked like it was going to be done quick.
Okay.
I mean, you're more than welcome to stay with him if you want.
To be honest, I mean, you've just made me feel a little bit better about the whole situation by bringing me that news. So, I mean, let's think. Can I actually pick a striker that is either not injured or actually wanted by the club for Newcastle? Probably not.
Well, I've already written down the G, so I could just easily turn it into Guimaraes if you wanted.
Yeah, do that.
That's just as gross as Gordon, so yeah. Horrible little bastard.
Andy?
Just a 1-0 Forest win for me. I didn't realise there was all this drama required. As I can no longer get my wood out, I will have to resort to old tactics and go with a 1-0.
That's why he got himself injured.
I've gone for a 1-1 draw, very similar to Mr. Woodmansey there. I have gone for Elanga to start for Forest and Wilson to start for Newcastle. He may have well been the striker that Mr. Woodmansey was alluding to that is not wanted by the club. How do you see it panning out, Matt? Obviously, Boxing Day was very good. Will this be very bad?
This is what I always worry about. You get the yin and the yang of like a really nice win on Boxing Day, and then you kind of have to be brought back to earth for a bit. And of course, to be brought back to earth, I didn't get to brag to people who I have to interact with who are Newcastle fans on Boxing Day, even though if it does go wrong, they will be reminded of the fact that, you know, Forest ruined your Christmas, you dickheads. But I've gone for a 2-2 draw. I think Forest can score goals, but we also like conceding goals. And apparently after this weekend, so do Newcastle. So it could be quite. The people at Sky might be rubbing their hands together. Cue it being 0-0 and absolutely drab, but yeah, after Newcastle can scoring 4 and conceding 4, I've gone for a 2-2 draw, slightly kind of more sedate than that. I've gone a 1-0 and Morgan Gibbs White. I mean, if rumours are to be true, add some zeros or add some extra millions onto what Newcastle are apparently going to buy him for. I can't imagine for 1 minute they're going to buy him, but considering we spent 42 million on him, I can't imagine they've got enough money to buy him. And I've gone for Wilson and Barnes to play for Newcastle, to play and also score for Newcastle.
It's better than that though, Matt, because we know that Newcastle clearly have got the money, but they're just not allowed to use it.
Yeah. Oh, we can't. It's like can't touch. Don't touch it. The strip club of football.
Oh, you really do love to see it. It's such a good thing. So our last two games of the week take place in the Championship midweek, and the first of which is the game we were referring to earlier, which sees Rotherham United taking on Hull City. And this is the game I was referring to, which you may be in attendance for, if I'm correct.
Yep, that is correct. The tickets have been secured. We are venturing over to Rotherham to take in my first away game in many years, but also my boys' first ever away game. So it'll be an interesting experience all round, I think. To say that Sarah's absolutely cacking her pants about it, yeah, she's a bit worried. They sold out the ticket allocation as well, so the atmosphere in our end should be pretty fun.
Very, very nice. I'm hopeful that the boys' first away visit will be a fruitful one, as I've gone for a 2-0 Hull win. I've gone for Tufan and Carvalho to score. Matt, what have you got down for Rotherham Hull?
Sorry, Matt. If you remember, Paul, the boys' first ever home game was also a 2-0 win against a certain team.
Sorry, did I say a 2-0 Hull win? I meant a 2-0 Rotherham win. Oh.
Sorry, Matt, go on.
I've gone for a 2-1 Hull win with Wyke scoring for Rotherham and Philogene and Carvalho scoring for Hull.
Andy?
I've got a 1-1 draw. I've got Eves.
Ooh.
For Rotherham. And Zarori for Hull. As I'm reliably informed, definitely getting amongst it.
So the game's going to mean a lot. How do you see it planning out?
Well, I can't see that it's going to be more of an actual game for football than the Swansea game will be. I have a feeling this may be a little more scrappy. However, as we discussed earlier on, with the investments in the team and all the rest of it, I'm really hopeful that we'll have enough to play them off the park. And Rotherham have been one of the worst sides. Rotherham and Huddersfield have probably been the worst two sides I've seen at our place all season. So I have gone for a Hull win. Andy went old boy rule, but when I had a little look at the team of late, he's only been coming off the bench. So I had a little look around and I thought, I can go old boy rule as well. So stick Clucas down for the Rotherham goal. Good old Sammy Clueless back in the fold. But for Hull, I have 3 goal scorers.
Ooh.
Tufan, because he loves a goal in a scrappy game, is that lad. Philogene, and much like Mr. Cook, Zarori.
Very nice indeed. And our final game of the week sees Preston North End taking on my team, Middlesbrough. Now, I know that Mr. Cook has some thoughts on Preston North End, or certainly their website setup. So let's go to Mr. Cook first. And this might be the time to get the earplugs in, ladies and gentlemen, as I feel a rant's coming. Can someone give me 30 seconds? Oh no, sorry, that's a different podcast. That's a different podcast. Go on, Mr. Cook.
How difficult is it to have a reasonable website? Give us a clue what position people play. I don't care who sponsors the player. I have no interest. I just want to know, is it a forward? Is it a midfielder? Is this person even playing for the club? Is my new favourite issue. Preston, I believe you've been on blast before for your garbage website. I am putting you on the clock. If you don't sort it out, there's going to have to be issues, problems. I'm going to take offence at this point.
Like an Eminem diss track
right
football website.
That being said, I have given Preston a goal. Now, as we can tell, it was very difficult to find who was going to score that goal. They nearly didn't score a goal because I couldn't find a player. But keen to score the one goal for Preston. However, Borough are going to turn up with their gleaming, delightful website and stick 2 right down their bad website throat. Greenwood and Silvera.
Matt, what have you got down for PNE Borough?
I've gone for a 1-1 draw. Preston seem to be good at home. Keane and Fours.
Stu?
Don't shout, Paul. I have a really bad feeling about this game because, as Matt alluded to, Preston are good at home. So I'm really sorry to say, but I've put Preston down for a 1-0 win.
Doesn't even give him a goal. Oh.
With Reese to score.
You know, you say that they're good at home. Are they good at home because they're not spending time on their website? They're just putting it all out there on the pitch. They've got no time for this internet nonsense. They're just like, we've got to leave it all on the pitch, guys, because we're getting a lot of flack for the website. So we've got to get them goals on the pitch, because otherwise we'd be a terrible team with a terrible website. So
it's a small town in Lancashire. They've just got dial-up. What do you want from them?
a chance.
For me,
A chance.
For me, it's more the fact that I'm going off Andy's logic. The worse the team, the better the website will be and stuff like that. Because they're obviously not putting the effort in on the pitch, so they're just translating it to making sure the website's constantly updated and stuff like that. It's a great thought for us. I love it. So Preston North End Middlesbrough is a repeat of Michael Carrick's first game in charge, which they lost 2-1. I think they'll go slightly better this time, as I've gone for a 2-2 draw. I also have gone for Reese to score for Preston, and I've also gone for Brown, which could be interesting, and I'm pretty sure he's a defensive midfielder. But then that would be typical Borough. So I've also gone for Greenwood and Azaz to score for Borough. That is all 6 games done and dusted. Do we have odds?
No, there were so many games this week. I got way too excited. And last week, not all of the teams won, drew, or lost together. But had I have put the score predictions on for the first 3 games of the weekend, as it would have been, I actually got all 3 scores right. So I was a little bit cross about that.
Yeah, you'd have got a pretty penny on that as well.
Yep, not making that, Paul.
That, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of your football updates this week. Or does it? Because if you listen carefully, you may hear the sound of a ominous gong going off. I'll divert to either one of Matt or Stu to give the details of this particular little doozy, as Saudi Arabia strikes again, shall I say?
Well, Matt, I hadn't. Matt had sent it through first. So if you want the honours, Mr. Moore, you found it. So
I didn't read it. I just saw it. So I was like, "What the hell have you read it, Stu?" Or
only basically that it's, you know, we're a good portion of the way through the football seasons around the world now, and as with everything in sport, ultimately the biggest and somewhat strangest things will usually end up in Saudi Arabia. It's the season cup final. It's to be played between Al Nassr and Al Hilal, and you know it'll be just like the FA Cup final here. They'll fill the national stadium. They'll have all of the pageantry of having the royal family there to present the trophy and you know the FA dignitaries and no wait a minute, they absolutely won't. The season cup in Saudi Arabia this year has been presented to the winning team by none other than The Undertaker. Actual WWE Hall of Fame legend extraordinaire, The Undertaker. And the pictures that they've taken to promote this, it's not, you know, American Badass Undertaker. It's not retired Mark Calloway, I'm going to wear this t-shirt I'm currently trying to sell on the internet, Mark Calloway. It's full trench coat, black hat Undertaker. I really hope it's not that hot in Saudi Arabia when he turns up to do this, because he's going to be sweating his bollocks off in that trench coat. I don't know if the camera will pick this up so well, but oh yeah, there you go. Andy's got a little video of him lifting the cup. He's not even playing for the team. What is he doing?
oh God.
I don't know if it comes across so well, but the cup being shaped like the World Cup and a black cover being over it in front of him in a black trench coat makes it look like his wife is one very lucky lady. There you go. Yeah, Paul spotted it. Andy was picking wood again for a second.
Just a wonderful cross. I was going to say cross-breeding there. Definitely don't mean cross-breeding. Cross-branding. Jesus. There's a Freudian stuff I've ever seen. Yes, cross-promotion, cross-branding between football and the WWE. Very nice. You love to see it. Right in our particular wheelhouse, right here at the CookieCast Podcast Network. Yeah, that's it for another week. Thank you to you guys for joining me to go through the details of your teams. Thank you to all of you for listening, tuning in and watching and whatnot. Join us again next week where we'll do it all over again and bring you some more delicious, tasty football news. But until then, take care of yourselves. Make sure you look out for each other as well. We'll see you next week. Bye.
So there we go, what do you think to that? Another one done, another one gone, another week of games gone, another week of games to look forward to. What more could you want from a football podcast? Before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And check out the website, thecookieCast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button. And that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye. And I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.